I saw my colleague claim my project as his own and earn a promotion. When the system failed, he couldn't even understand my code. I'm a 28-year-old man who's been a software engineer at a tech firm for 4 years, never imagining I'd share a tale like this. I've always been the reserved one at work. The guy who eats homemade lunches, codes through breaks, and finds joy in solving complex programming challenges. That changed 6 months ago when I learned my colleague had taken credit for my work, securing a team leader role I'd been diligently aiming for over 2 years. Let's go back to the start. Our company isn't a glamorous tech giant. It's a medium-sized firm focused on automating business processes. I joined fresh out of college with a computer science degree, moving from a junior role to a full-fledged developer. My performance reviews consistently glowed, with managers commending my precision and knack for tackling intricate problems. Everything was on track until last year, when we landed a massive client, a Fortune 500 company needing a tailored automation system to manage their supply chain. The deal was worth millions and could transform our company's future. One Wednesday, my boss called me in and assigned me as the project's lead. The thrill was unforgettable. This was my shot to prove I deserved that team leader role. Then my colleague entered the scene. He joined the company a year after me and excelled at charming the higher-ups. You know the type, always chatting with executives, planning office events, and somehow taking long lunches without raising eyebrows. My boss paired him with me, citing his interpersonal skills as a compliment to my technical expertise. From the start, his involvement felt strange. He lingered near my workstation, asking for constant updates and access to my notes, saying he needed them for client updates. Initially, I welcomed his curiosity. I spent hours explaining my design choices and the sophisticated algorithms I was crafting. The project was captivating. I built a system to cut the client's processing time by 75% using machine learning and bespoke automation protocols. I'd lose hours refining the structure, testing, and documenting every detail. My colleague made minor contributions, like small bug fixes or interface adjustments, but I handled the core work. In hindsight, I missed the red flags. He began arranging meetings with senior management, excluding me, claiming they were casual updates. He'd asked to review my documentation, and I noticed him capturing screenshots during code reviews. I was so engrossed in the technical work that I overlooked the office politics unfolding around me. 3 months in, as I was finalizing key features, I fell seriously ill with a high fever, bedridden for a week, the first sick leave I'd taken in years. I emailed my boss and colleague, sending detailed notes on pending tasks and offering to join urgent calls remotely. When I returned the following Monday, the atmosphere had shifted. Colleagues gave me odd looks, some sympathetic, others avoiding me entirely. A friend from the quality assurance team pulled me aside and revealed the truth. While I was out, my colleague had called a meeting with upper management, presenting the project as his own creation. He cast himself as the lead architect and developer, reducing my role to a minor assistant who handled basic tasks. He'd copied my documentation, altered the authorship, and claimed my diagrams as his own. The worst part, he timed it perfectly, knowing I was too sick to respond. His presentation was a hit. Management was wowed by the system's complexity and his apparent expertise. Within days, he was promoted to team leader with a big raise and a hefty bonus. When I tried to raise the issue, my boss dismissed me with vague talk about teamwork and collective success. I later learned my colleague had spent weeks laying the groundwork to convince everyone of his story. I was crushed. Years of late nights, dedication, and love for my work had been stolen by someone who barely grasped the system's mechanics. I thought about quitting, polishing my resume, and starting anew elsewhere. But something kept me there. Maybe pride or the belief that someone who didn't understand the system would eventually falter. For 3 months, I watched him struggle in his new role. He assigned nonsensical tasks, approved changes that broke the system's foundation, and spent more time in meetings than fixing issues. I quietly documented everything, knowing that in software, shortcuts catch up. The moment of truth came faster than I expected. One Thursday, the CEO called an urgent meeting. The client had found a major flaw in the system, risking millions in losses from inventory and shipping delays. They demanded an immediate fix, and all eyes turned to the supposed mastermind behind the project. From my desk, I watched my colleague unravel. He spent days in a frenzy, suggesting fixes that would have worsened the issue. In meetings, he couldn't answer basic questions about the system's design. His polished confidence crumbled as the client grew frustrated and our company's reputation teetered. Then I got a direct email from the CEO. It was short. "I hear you helped develop the system. Can you look into this?" This was my chance, but I had to tread carefully. I couldn't just point fingers. I needed the truth to shine. I replied with a detailed email, attaching my original project logs, code commits, and timestamps. I explained how I could resolve the issue quickly because I'd built the system and knew its inner workings. I included early design notes from my personal journal, written months before the project began, showing I'd been exploring similar solutions long before the client came on board. The evidence was undeniable. My code commits showed I wrote over 90% of the system. The documentation timestamps proved I'd created everything before my illness. The system's design aligned perfectly with my early drafts, down to naming conventions and code comments that echoed my style from past projects. The CEO acted swiftly, calling a meeting with the board and department heads. My colleague clung to his story of teamwork, but he faltered when pressed to explain specific technical choices. His gaps in knowledge were obvious. He couldn't even describe the core algorithms he'd claimed to create. The consequences were immediate. My colleague was demoted and moved to another department. I was promoted to senior engineer with a significant raise, a role created to honor technical skill rather than leadership potential. The CEO and my boss both apologized personally, with my boss admitting he should have investigated more thoroughly. The real reward came from the client. After I fixed the issue in about 4 hours once I had access, they requested I lead all future work. Their CTO sent a letter to our CEO, commending my quick fix and expressing confidence in my skills. They've since signed 2 more contracts with us, insisting I be involved in both. The incident sparked major changes in our company's processes. All code contributions now require signed records, and project leads must prove technical competence before presenting to clients. My boss was reassigned to another department, replaced by someone with a strong technical background who reviews code, not just slideshows. Reflecting on it, I sometimes wonder if I should have spoken up earlier or been more vocal about my contributions from the start. But watching my colleagues' carefully built image collapse while I calmly presented the facts felt like the ultimate justice. I didn't need to plot or scheme. I just waited for him to face a technical problem he couldn't fake his way through. This experience taught me key lessons about workplace dynamics. While charm and networking can boost some people temporarily, technical skill and thorough records always prevail in the end. I still keep a low profile and focus on my work, but now I ensure my contributions are clearly documented and speak up about my role in projects. Surprisingly, my quiet competence has earned me more respect than any networking could. Junior engineers now seek my guidance, and senior management listens when I voice concerns about technical decisions. I've even been asked to help shape our company's new policies on project attribution and documentation. I occasionally see my former colleague around. It's unavoidable in a mid-sized firm. He keeps his distance, and the uneasy silence when we pass in the halls speaks volumes. Word is he's struggling in his new role, where he actually has to deliver work instead of claiming others' achievements. As for me, I'm still at my desk, solving problems, eating my lunch, and coding through breaks. But now I do it with the assurance of someone who knows their value and trusts that in tech, the truth always emerges in the code.